We are live. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope everybody is doing well. Real quick, if you can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and check my settings here. 1 second. Mic check. There we go. Perfect. Get that turned on. Beautiful. All right. So anybody that's new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery, to the missing. And it's been a long time since I've covered the Idaho4. And it's been nearly a year now, or it's been just over a year, excuse me. It's kind of crazy how fast time flies. And I thought we would go ahead and cover it, some of the latest stuff, and then of course for anybody that might be new to this case, I've got a full timeline broke down that I've spent many weeks and months on throughout this time that this case is going to touch on a bunch of different angles. And but before we get started, we always like to give back by covering missing persons. So I always show a missing person poster at the beginning of the show. And so today we're gonna, let's see, where are you? We'll start with this guy here. So we've got two people. So one is Dimitri Perez. He went missing in Leakey, Texas. He's been missing well over a year now. Last seen April 14th, 2022. He was just 24 years old, 5'9", 160 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. It says he left his home in the early morning hours on foot. He didn't have his wallet or his phone. They did find his shoes later on the side of the road, but no Dimitri. If you do have any information, you can call Let's see, let me zoom it in. I know it's kind of crappy. 830-232-5201. Once again, that is Dimitri Perez. There he is right there. Just 24 years old. Went missing last year in Leakey, Texas. And then we've got one more, and these are personal requests. So we do take requests. You can email me if you have a friend or a family member that recently went missing. I'd be more than happy to feature them in an upcoming live show. And this is Amber Arnett, 39 years old, 5'4", 150 pounds. She went missing out of Lansing, Michigan in, I believe, June. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it was June. And if you have any information, and there is a reward, you can call Crime Stoppers at 517-483-6679. Yeah, she went missing June 25th of this year. Sally says he was taken out of his shoes from a struggle on the side of the road by force. You know, I've not had a chance to really look at Dimitri Perez's, if there was anything else. Yeah, that sounds horrible. Let's hope, it has a happy ending. I mean, we've seen it before. We cover a lot of missing people. We've featured over 2,000 missing people since we started this channel. But we've seen many, even that have been missing over a year, come back. Just like Alicia Navarro. She was missing well over a year. I featured her, oh my gosh, countless times on my show. And they ended up, finding her. So miracles do happen. Let's see. Shout out to my wonderful mods, Jocelyn, Karen Lee. We've got Copper Horse in here, and D. Happy Friday. They do such an amazing job. If you have any questions, you can always ask them. Just checking chat. Okay. All right, where's my video? Here it is. So what I got, so if you've been following my channel, kind of just like the Richard Allen case where I built like a video timeline, I've got the same thing here, but I've also got extra stuff in it in the middle. Do keep in mind, some of these videos that I made were, say, like right when the PCA affidavit came out, which was many, many months ago, about like a year ago. So I built obviously a video timeline, but since then there's been more information. So some of these videos are accurate, some may be missing some things. I did try to tweak it to where it's up to date, but there are still some things that are slightly off. But anyway, let's get going. Ebel's mom, hey Chris, great to catch you live. Thank you so much, Ebel. Hope you're doing well. Cunningham, good to see you. No notification. You made it on time. Perfect. Thank you so much, Cunningham. And Ebel's mom, fantastic to be here and catch you live from the UK. It's always a humbling experience to know that people are actually tuning in from the other side of the world. It's really cool, and I really appreciate it. And been a member for 17 months. That's so awesome. All right, let me get this video going. And we got Jennifer. Okay, and she's in here too. Good to see you. I hope you're recovering. I know it's going to be baby steps. All right, where is it? There we go.
2022 at approximately 2.
So what I've got is kind of basically the timeline built in with the story as well. But throughout this, I did add in a bunch of things like the leaks from the Linda Lane footage. Also, some stuff that I did with enhancing the video and looking closer at the car that passes a bunch of times and what we can see from that. Obviously, it's not a lot, but there are some interesting things to point out. But we'll get going. If anybody's new to the channel, I personally believe that Bryan Kohberger is, I believe he is guilty. I know he's innocent until proven that, but just to forewarn you, I'm on the side of guilty. But if you're on the other side or on the fence, we welcome all comments. We just ask you just to be respectful. We can all agree to disagree. We're all adults here, so let's get going.
42 a.m. The 8458 phone was utilizing cell resources that provide coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road of Pullman, Washington, hereafter known as the Kohberger residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the phone cell resources that provide coverage southeast of Kohberger residence consisted with the phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with the phone either being in an area without cellular coverage or the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone in airplane mode, or that the phone is turned off. On the evening of November 12, 2022, Ethan and Xana are seen by Bethany at the Sigma Chi house.
So, if you're just tuning in, you just made it. We're just beginning the video, and this is really kind of breaking down the PC affidavit. I'm just going off their timeline, and that's what we do on this channel. We kind of stick with the evidence and the facts that we know of. We still like to theorize, but that's basically kind of what we do here is we kind of stick to the grounded facts and evidence that we know. And then produce theories off of that and speculation.
On University of Idaho campus.
Let me grab this real quick just so I can snag these. Sensei, Chris, you are awesome raising awareness of the missing. Thank you so much for the $2 euro and the comment. It means the world. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So it's the best thing it's the least I can do is give back to people. Jason Truth. Hey, love, your thoughts, analysis, everything tells me this. There is major cover-up, and that not one person like Bryan could do these brutal. Sorry, I can't say that word. However, can't get over the lack of alibi. Yeah, it is pretty lackluster. But I think I have an idea, and we'll get to that. We will discuss the alibi. It is very basic.
35 drive from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th. Bethany also estimates that at approximately 1:45, Ethan and Xana returned to the King Road residence. Bethany also stated that Chapman did not live in the King Road residence, but was a guest of Xana's. Kaylee and Maddie were at the local bar, the Corner Club at 202 North Main Street in Moscow. Kaylee and Maddie can be seen on footage provided by the Corner Club between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m.
And so let me just pause it here, just so that way I don't have to backtrack on certain things. But I think there was somebody that did a video not too long ago saying that this was Bryan Kohberger. They blew it up and stuff. But it's not. I can't remember if that. I think that guy got identified when this photo. I think most of the people, not all, but a good portion of the people in this, obviously have the two girls and Jack. I mean, clearly the hat and everything and the beard. And then I can't remember if this was Hoodie Guy. But anyway, there was a video recently where they blew this person up, and yeah, that's not Bryan, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know 100%, but I don't think that was Bryan.
Between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. At approximately 1:30 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie can be seen on video at the local food vendor called The Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street in downtown Moscow.
Yeah.
A private party reported that he provided a ride to Kaylee and Maddie at approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow in front of the Grub Truck to the King Road residence. Dylan and Bethany both made statements during the interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m.
So, hey Trip, I don't understand how a PCA is factual. So, I mean, with this particular PCA, I mean, we've got, and this is, to me, this is why when it comes to BK's, and me believing that he's guilty, is the amount of cameras, and I can't, I'm sure there's going to be much more, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. I don't want to get ahead, but you're basing the PC is based off obviously camera footage, witness statements. Now, yes, not all witness statements can be 100% reliable, but and then obviously officer statements, and then obviously discovery of evidence, and then it's all kind of built into one. But always keep in mind when it comes to the probable cause affidavit. Now, yes, I am not in law enforcement. I was never a detective. I am just a regular Joe that you guys, I'm lucky you guys listen to me. But we do have Steve from True Crime Web, who, I work closely with. Now, he is a former detective, former forensic. He's done it all. We usually have him on Mondays, but right now he's in a moving situation, and so he's been kind of busy, and probably won't have him on until maybe at the end of the year or next year, just because of personal stuff that he's going through right now. But anyway, he told me when it comes to probable cause affidavit, you got to keep in mind that they put the least amount. This isn't like a discovery. This isn't like everything they have. They just put the minimal amount in so that a judge can sign off on getting the an arrest for the suspect. So you always got to keep in mind they have just the minimal amount necessary for them to get an arrest. So there's always much more.
And asleep, or at least in the rooms, by approximately 4 a.m. Now,
and that comes from Steve. That's why I said that before. That's all. Learned that from Steve.
Moving over to the camera footage that was suspect Bryan Kohberger leaves his apartment complex And the first cameras...
Okay, so what I did is I combined the two videos because one was a PCA affidavit video, which is combined in this one, which was the beginning. And then I made a video, which is actually not too long ago, probably about 4 months ago. I wanted to do a video just kind of count how many cameras there would be. And this is kind of combined in that because I just wanted to show, because we learn how many terabytes of discovery they have in this case, and it's quite a lot. And because of the high amount of terabytes would lead you to believe that a lot of this would be, obviously, anybody that stores a lot of videos or anything on their PC would know what takes up the most space. Video first, video, audio, and then pictures, and then documents. But obviously, video is going to suck up a lot of it.
That supposedly pick up the Hyundai Elantra is at 2:44 a.m. on Stadium in Nevada. There are actually multiple cameras at this intersection, at least 3. These are called bullet cameras.
That's true.
And they actually have really good quality and would have captured this vehicle at multiple angles. The car then supposedly heads north, but is seen again by the same cameras just 9 minutes later at 2:53 a.m., this time heading towards Highway 270. This is where the suspect's vehicle would head straight to Moscow, Idaho. At approximately 33 minutes later, the suspect's vehicle is seen at 700 block Indian Hills.
And this is one of the ones when I spoke a little bit earlier where I said I'm not sure 100% on a few things. They say he's heading west on Indian Hills, which would mean he'd be going this way. Either way, he's cut on this road here at 326. And so assuming this neighborhood, he's caught on some kind of probably ring camera or something. And so this is kind of mixed in with talking about the cameras that this he would allegedly be caught on and the quality that we could expect from that. But yeah, somebody makes a point. Yes, we have not seen one, but I doubt we will until obviously the trial. But there is the one that I think will be the biggest and most damning evidence, in my opinion, towards BK. But we'll talk about that when we cross that bridge.
This camera would have most likely been a residential camera, like a ring cam, which could have really great quality, but it is unknown. It says he is heading westbound, but I believe it could be a typo and he's actually heading eastbound, because 2 minutes later is when the suspect's vehicle is spotted at the mobile gas station heading down Troy, and then turning left at the intersection where it was seen at 3:28 a.m. Now going west on Steiner Avenue.
Let's see. Oh, you guys can't quite see the counter. Let me move that just a little bit. So what I was doing in this video is I was just kind of showing how many cameras supposedly that the alleged suspect is caught on, because I think this will be huge. Even if the camera, obviously it's going to depend on the angles, and like someone said, yes, we haven't seen, an actual footage of him driving, but I doubt they're going to release that. Like I said, the probable cause is going to be the minimal amount, and really the footage from Linda Lane, that's obviously you're not going to get very good details, but we did enhance that, which we'll show here in a bit. But anyway, so already he would have been caught on at least 6+ cameras from the time he started at the apartments to his, destination.
The mobile gas station has multiple dome cameras, which could have anywhere from poor quality to decent quality. Next, the suspect's vehicle would be seen approximately at 3:29, passing Linda Lane on driving west on Taylor Avenue. This camera, which we have now seen the quality of, is great, but considering the distance, it would be hard to see the details.
Okay, so the video's a little bit louder. Okay, so I'll turn the video down just a bit. And how's the volume for me? Give me a thumbs up or a 1 if me and the volume are better now.
Of the car. Now the car would be captured next on the light bulb camera at 11:12 12 King Road, approximately at 3:30, passing the King Road residence. This light bulb camera would actually have decent quality and can record in HD. Then before we get to the next note.
So, I had to cut some stuff out because I had, when that Linda Lane footage leaked out, I didn't realize, because obviously I watched it a bunch of times, but for some reason I thought that I saw the car only pass 4 times, but it actually passes 5 times. So I had to kind of redo this part of the video, because I missed the 5th time that he passes by. But we do address that. Canine Dream Dog changed your name. That's a beautiful name. I'm going back to the start, Chris. We just started, so you're not missing much. Changed to help with pronunciation. Meg from Australia. Thanks for everything you do. Thank you so much, Canine Dream Dog. Both beautiful YouTube names, and thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much, Omar. Okay, cool. I have a soft voice, and I'm used to speaking soft. So, yeah, I had to kind of train myself to kind of speak a little louder. All right, so now the alleged suspect is pulling in.
The next official camera to capture the suspect would be the Linda Lane 1330 camera, where the...
And actually, let me go back. Yeah, this is, because I was looking at chat. This is the camera I think is going to be huge, like the most damning towards the alleged suspect. Whether you think it's Kohberger, to me, I think whoever was responsible, considering that there's only one way in and one way out from this road, and we know back here you would have to hop a bunch of fences and stuff. Not saying it's not impossible, but if the suspect or suspects, wherever you sit, drove up to this house, committed the act, and left, they are going to be caught on a camera. And this particular camera has great quality.
King Road residence. This light bulb camera would actually have decent...
And we actually got a leaked photo from that night. Obviously, it's taken at 1:56 a.m., which is a couple of hours before, obviously. But this was from the light bulb camera. It clearly is looking at the intersection where the car would be seen coming and going. And this particular camera, it's been a minute since I looked at all the information and specs when it comes to this particular camera. But other than having colored nighttime mode, which would be the most optimal, ideal camera, this would be the next best option, because this is still in HD. As we can see here, what's lit up are these license plates. Keep in mind, one thing that's going to be huge as this car comes around the corner, which we know we're going to see, if it is Bryan Kohberger, we're going to notice that there's going to be a license plate missing. So we're not going to get this, this glare like we do on these front license plates. Because remember, he came from Pennsylvania, where Pennsylvania, you didn't have to, it wasn't required to have a front license plate, as long as you had one in the back. So, and he had moved, I think sometime I think April, I think it was May, because he got a phone in June. So probably just before June is when he came from Pennsylvania over to Washington. But he never got a front license plate. So keep that in mind, that, if you see a car coming around and it's a white Hyundai Elantra, that's going to be it's going to be pretty huge.
Quality and can record in HD. Then before we get to the next note, but the next official camera to capture the suspect.
So if you see, I had some cameras up here because I was theorizing there might have been another camera here. I have seen footage of people walking past this. There is no camera here, unless they have like a door camera. but I don't think there is a camera. I always kind of theorized there might have been one. There is one on top of the Queen Apartments, um, but we don't know if that one's working because I didn't even mention it in the PC affidavit. So it's quite possible it's up there, but maybe it works, but maybe they just lost the recording that day. Who knows? But there is a camera up there that kind of overlooks, as if you're right here.
Would be the Linda Lane 1330 camera, where the quality is not the best, but we now have seen what the footage looks like, and it first captures the vehicle passing at 3:31, then at 3:39, then at 3:57, and finally at 4:05 a.m.
Now, so this is where I missed one, and then the vehicle is seen one more time, so 5 times total at 4:07, and we're going to look a little bit at that closer as well, because there is some interesting. When you look between the times, there are some interesting numbers that kind of pop up. Obviously, yes, the quality of this footage, you really can't tell other than,
This means, at the very least,
you can tell it's, a car, it's not a truck, it's not, something big. We can at least narrow down that it is some kind of sedan type vehicle.
the suspect's vehicle is seen at least 12 times between the two known working cameras, with 4 times at Linda Lane,
Which actually would be 5 times.
and with the bulb camera you would have captured 2 different angles as the car is coming and going, so you would get the front and the back of the suspect's vehicle's car.
8 times with this camera here. 8 times. That's huge. That's huge. Because like I said, that camera's got great quality. Obviously, it's got audio, which sadly, but will help the prosecution also capture the terrible events, kind of adding more to solidify the timeline of when the actual attacks were happening, because supposedly you hear a thud and some barking. But yes, you would get with this camera, because it would be an even number because it's going to be caught coming and going. So even though it's caught 5 times on this one, it's 8 times here because he's coming and going. So you always got 2 times for each pass, or each time he's entering and leaving. And that's going to be huge with that particular camera,
Making it capture the car technically 8 times.
And then here was me breaking down each car pass, just seeing if it was possibly a different car. I had this red line stationary, and then what I did is I overlaid all the video footage, because obviously we have stationary video, or stationary camera, and so all I have to do is just overlay them on top of each other. You'll notice the time kind of changes, and I was just seeing this. When the car passes just past this little beam here, is it taller than the line or shorter, or is it just the same? And with all the passes, it was exactly the same. So I'm going to kind of show one, but I'm going to kind of skip this. Steve Holland, have you touched on the angles of how corrupt law enforcement seems to be in Idaho? I haven't, to be honest, Steve. Now, don't get me wrong. Like a case with, what is it? I can think of his name, but I can't think of. I want to say Murdoch, but that's not it. Making a murderer. When it comes to that case, Stephen Avery. There he goes. I couldn't think of his last name for some reason. In my opinion, I do believe there's corruption in that one. In my opinion, on this one with Idaho, in my opinion, I don't see it. Obviously, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. But in my opinion, it's not an angle that I believe is going on. I could always be wrong, of course, but I don't see why they and we'll talk about using somebody as a patsy, because they would have had a perfect patsy and somebody to throw under the bus for this. Um, and they wouldn't even had to spend any tax dollars on a trial or anything. And we'll kind of get to that. But let me get to chat real quick. And then here are the times in between each time this car passes. And I kind of had a theory on why the times are kind of different. So we have, oops, let me pull it back up there. The Tina Skull gifted 5 Mob Crew memberships. That is so awesome. Thank you so much, Tina. And if you did get gifted a membership, if you could, thank Tina. That is so awesome. And that really helps me as the channel. So thank you so much. Let's see. Okay. So here are the passes. Now this is what's kind of interesting. So between pass 1 and 2, you have 8 minutes. Between pass 2 and 3, you have 18 minutes. And then between pass 3 and 4, you have approximately 8 minutes. Just like pass 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. They both kind of are real close to 8 minutes. And what's interesting is if you look at the neighborhood, and as you know, this neighborhood's quite a bit of a maze, because there's been a couple of content creators that went out there, and they think that whoever did this had definitely had to have known kind of the layout of the surrounding area and the roads, because they're kind of windy, and they're, you can end up in some dead ends and in some circles. And anyway, what's interesting is if you look at like Google Maps and you kind of like map out like the whole circle. Now it's obviously it's hard to like map out a whole circle, but I mapped out from this blue line. So from leaving the 112 King Road, 1122 King Road, and you go all the way to, so 3/4 of the circle basically, it's 5 minutes, with the last little bit taking approximately 4 minutes. So that is around about 8 minutes is what I'm saying. So to drive around from Taylor Ave down 95, which I forget this street here, and then you come in, and then eventually you get onto Walanta and then onto Taylor. It's about 8 minutes. So it almost seems like the alleged suspect was, arrived there, maybe saw some activity going on, and was wanting to do some scouting. So they drove around again, and of course was seen on the camera for a second time. And between pass 2 and 3, maybe they liked what they saw as they entered for the second time. And so the reason why we have 18 minutes instead of the 8 minutes that seem to kind of line up with the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is, I think, the suspect or suspects thought it looked good. So what they did is, as they were circling around, I think they probably parked somewhere, maybe geared up if they had already been geared up. So they spent another 10 minutes kind of getting ready, and then they came back, and that would kind of add, instead of 8 minutes driving around, they would have spent 10 minutes kind of pulling over and getting geared up. They would have arrived again, but then, so of course they're arriving at 3:57. Keep in mind, DoorDash comes, we don't know the exact time, they just say approximately 4 a.m. And my personal theory, and let me know in the chat, and I'll kind of stop it and look at what you guys think. Let me go back to this one here. So I think as he was passing at 3:57, so he's coming back around, and I think a lot of us theorize that the suspect, it's most likely he parked up in this kind of back parking lot area here. We don't know 100%, but That would make the most sense. You'd be hidden, and then you have that straight shot to the second floor, sliding glass door. But I think maybe he parked, and then he saw headlights come, which would have been the DoorDash driver, because this would have been probably 3:58 now. Saw that person probably pull in, and they decided, you know what, I need to go do another round. And so I think as they pulled in and they started bringing the food, and I'm sure they brought the food instead of to the front door to the sliding glass door. And just some inside information for those that may have never dealt with DoorDash. DoorDash, you order it on your phone. It's an app. Um, you can give special requests. So let's say um, you have two entrances or two doors. Basically, this situation here, you have a front door and you have a backsliding door. And let's just say nobody ever uses the front door. Everybody uses the backsliding door. So you could leave a special message to your DoorDash driver saying, "Hey, please deliver the food to the backsliding door." And and then I did see an argument that, well, why didn't the DoorDash driver see anybody? Because from the PC affidavit, they said, they didn't see anybody. I think, he waited until this person probably went to go drop off the food and then just drove past. And so they didn't see them. And then keep in mind, DoorDash drivers, they're quick. They're not paid there to sit around and, powwow. Like they get there, they go, they have the food ready, obviously. They will walk it to the sliding glass door. They don't knock, they don't communicate unless, I mean, if you're out there. But all they do is they'll set the food down, they'll take a picture of it. That way it's for their, insurance. And then they send it to the company, and you get a text message as well, which shows a picture of your food sitting outside the door wherever you requested it. And then they're gone because they're getting paid to be as fast as they can. So always keep that in mind because I did see somebody in Twitter kind of argue that side of it, and is with them, well, how come the DoorDash driver didn't see them, when they had been there for a while? But no, I mean they're, you know, and I would think, obviously this is 4 a.m. in the morning. It is odd, but since it's a college town, uh, clearly the Jack in Box is open 24/7, and if there is a driver available, you can order food on the DoorDash app. You'll know if there's a driver available or not. And I'm assuming because of the time of night, and since it's Saturday, it was Saturday evening, early Sunday evening. Um, a lot of people tip big. It's kind of like being at the bar. You bartenders get great tips, so I would think it's kind of the same scenario. If you have any comments or anything like that, let me know. And then we'll continue on. I-45 3 or I have an interstate. I-43 Pammy gifted 5 mob crew memberships. Thank you so much, Pammy. That is so awesome. Miranda says, yeah, don't start DoorDash. It becomes addictive and your money goes poof. It is so true. It is so true. I did it a little bit when I was living with my aunt. And yeah, because you kind of get sucked into, like a subscription, and then you get like a discount on food. And yeah, it is addicting. And Pammy with the $20 super sticker. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. Okay. Moving on. Oh my gosh, we got almost 600 people in here. Mods, let me know how the chat is. If the speed gets a little too fast, let me know. We can turn it down a little. And I'm going to keep playing. And then, oh, just to talk about the final pass, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But, oh, where is it? Did I add it in right? There it is. Oh, it just goes too quickly. So, after the fourth pass, I think what happened is he was going to get ready, and for some reason wanted to do one last lap. And so instead of, because obviously between, all the others were 8 minutes, 18 minutes, 8 minutes, but between the final two passes, 4 and 5, it was only 2 minutes. So to me, it seems like he drove, maybe parked for a second, maybe saw something that, and maybe the DoorDash driver maybe came a little bit later than 4, so maybe they came at like 4:04. So the alleged suspect would already been approaching his fourth turn. That could have happened as well. And so maybe he hung out while DoorDash driver dropped the food off. So he's kind of hanging out back here, and then decided to take one last loop around because he was only 2 minutes between 4:05 and 4:07. And then that's when he would then approach the sliding glass door. So one thing I did, and this isn't nothing huge, but I did as the best I could with, because obviously we have AI enhancement, and I was trying to see if I could kind of match up maybe the Hyundai Elantra by overlaying it, and then also I wanted to see if I could see the silhouette if I zoomed in, and I had to really work at it with some different filters, but you can kind of actually see a head and what almost looks like to be an arm. I know this doesn't identify Kohberger. This is nothing huge, but I thought it was just kind of interesting that with the enhancement, you can actually get a solo figure here. Now, does that mean, oh, there's only one person in here guaranteed? No. I mean, we're looking at a very, very grainy photo, but with the right tweaks and enhancement, you can enhance it enough to see the silhouette of at least one person. And I did it with a couple of different filters and a couple of different angles, but it is kind of interesting. And this little white box you see here is actually light on the outside of the car coming in. Because it almost looks like somebody's got like a laptop right there or something, but that's really just light filtering in from the outside into the car. And it might even be his driver's side mirror. When I went to look at this further, sometimes you can get lucky, and that almost looks like his side mirror that I got. And that would make sense because that would have any light source that shined on that mirror would appear bright. So that really looks really close to his side mirror. Can you tell if he had a hood or a beanie? Not from this. It's too. I was kind of amazed I was even be able to make kind of like a solo head and what looked to be like a shoulder, but it's there. But other than that, you really, it's a bad camera quality. The guy's quite a bit of ways out. There's not much you're going to be able to do with that. I think I took it about as far as I can. I'm sure there's probably out there that could clean it up even a little bit better, but that's about as best I can do. Unravel. I'm wondering what happened to the other camera footage. That's most likely what has something on it. Yeah. So we kind of talked a little bit about that earlier. I'm assuming we're not going to see that until the trial begins. With this footage that got leaked out, and it's been a while, but I do remember hearing the people, because the people that actually had acquired it kind of told their story on how it kind of got leaked out. Like it got sent to one person and then it got sent to like two others, and then they held on to it for quite a while, and then sadly I think
and asleep, or at least in the room.
they sent it to one other person like overseas, trusting that they wouldn't, release it on any social media. And of course, that wasn't the case. They ended up leaking it out there.
By approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Xana, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash.
Uh, is it schizo? P.S. This leak footage, it could be looped, it could be shut. I'm not sure what you mean by shut. I understand the looped part. Um, it's it's possible. In this day and age, it's certainly possible. I'd give you that. But keep in mind, if they have the original footage, nowadays everything is stored on a cloud or memory card, and a lot of times you have what's called metadata, which that can't be, altered. That'll tell you the truth. So I'm assuming that will come to light. Um,
Delivery driver who reported this information. Dylan stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. Dylan stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she said sounded like Kaylee playing.
yes, Texas. We're just kind of. It's been a year since this happened, and it's been months since I've covered this. And there's always new people that get into this case. And so I always like to, especially I haven't covered this case in a long time, I always like to go through the timeline. And like I said, we're going to touch on some new stuff as well. But like I said, I want to kind of cover a bunch of different bases.
With her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, Dylan said she heard who she thought was Kaylee saying something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of the records obtained from forensic download of Xana's phone showed this could also have been Xana, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. Dylan stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Dylan stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Xana's room. Dylan then said she.
Now, when I built this, I made the mistake. It's nothing huge, obviously. This is really just talking about the timeline, but really, her bedroom, Maddie's bedroom, was actually right here above Dylan's bedroom. So it really, they should have been here, and Kaylee's room and the dog would have been here. But that's not a big deal. You guys still get the idea. But really, that's where the girls' room that they were sadly taken, their lives were taken in, would have been on this side here.
Heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you," at approximately 4:07.
Which is really creepy. And let me know your thoughts. I think. Oh, okay. I will. Thank you, D. I think as far as, could it have been those two girls or one of those girls be the main target, but sadly, they're sleeping together, and I can't have any witnesses, so sadly, collateral damage. And then I think with especially Ethan and Xana, the same thing, collateral damage. And it sounds like since she had ordered DoorDash just, 12 minutes earlier, means she could have been probably walking from the kitchen and back. And then clearly she was on her TikTok at 4:12. So it's quite possible that while Ethan was laying in bed, she's doing her TikTok thing, maybe walking to the kitchen, and he's coming downstairs. And then, especially if she had her phone out, the perpetrator would see that and probably freak out, maybe thinking they may have heard the commotion or something and was trying to call 911. And so, you know, sadly, she's going to be targeted. And I think she was kind of chased back into her bedroom. She was probably going to go try to get Ethan. And sadly, unfortunately, just a terrible tragedy.
A security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices of a whimper followed by a loud thud.
Steve Holland, don't forget, nothing was found on Night Sheet until they sent it to a second lab to be tested. Fishy, fishy. It depends on how you look at it. So yeah, they couldn't find anything. Then they had to send it to a third-party lab. You could say, this particular lab, was experimenting with the latest technology, and so they were kind of more advanced than what Moscow was using, and so they had to use, some further testing. And, I mean, I guess you could see that may being fishy. To me, it sounds like they're being thorough and making sure, because obviously that's really the only foreign thing as far as like an item left that wasn't from the victims or was in the house originally. So to me, it would make sense that you would do as much as you can, reach out to the proper resources to get it tested multiple times, just in case, they miss something the first time. But yeah, then you could say it's possibly fishy. Moving on.
A dog can also be heard barking numerous times, starting at.
And keep in mind, so these two would be switched. Obviously, the dog would have been right here. So if you keep in mind where the dog is at, which would have been here, and her room, remember to the right of us which is the kind of the west side of the house, is the closest to the 1112 King Road residence, which is the next door neighbor, which has got the camera with the audio on it, which caught, some of the audio of the terrible tragedy. And that would make sense because these are closer to where that camera is positioned.
4:17 a.m. Dylan stated she opened her door for a third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Dylan described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past Dylan as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. Dylan locked herself in her room after seeing the male. Dylan did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. King Road. Suspect Vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of King Road residence at approximately 4:20 at a high rate of speed. Suspect Vehicle 1 is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. I believe that Suspect Vehicle 1 likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Constanoga Drive. The phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time it is utilized cell resources that provide coverage to ID State Highway 95 South.
Trista says the Moscow PD was going to frame someone. They would have selected a career criminal. Right. And I also have, we're going to talk about, frame jobs and stuff like that. We do have a little section for that as well. And we can kind of argue both sides on that as well. Chris David says, one planned attack, 3 surprises. I don't think he even saw Dylan glazed by that time. Yeah, we don't know. Did she have her door just kind of slightly cracked open, and it's a door that kind of opens into the room. So and if she had her light turned off, and especially if he's kind of dipping out there, not really paying attention, he may not even seen her. Just one thing, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I know it's kind of a, a touchy subject when it comes to Dylan and, should she have called 911? Why did she wait 8 hours? I just want to say to the argument to that is, and there was a great Reddit post. I wish I had time to bookmarked it. Anyway, some college people had did a great Reddit post, just kind of showing what it's like to live in, because I never did the college stuff. I After I graduated high school, I went to just work in the 9 to 5 and many other jobs. But so yeah, I never did the college thing. But from their perspective, they said, you have like four to like who knows how many roommates, but 3 to 6 roommates, depending on the size of the place you guys are staying. And the biggest thing is you're always having people you don't know in your room or in your home at all hours because there's always parties going on, and there's always people that are coming and going that you have no idea, and you just assume that when your other roommates know them. And then there's always partying, commotion, screaming, stuff like that. And so, just to the argument of Dylan, uh, did she just think that this was just somebody that one of the other roommates knew, and that maybe some of the commotion she heard was just, them partying or whatever, being rowdy? Um, but anyway, I wish maybe if I have some time we can look at that article. But I think it was really gives you some insight from their perspective as far as that goes. Um, yeah, 8 hours to call 911. Like I said, but we don't know everything, and you know, we'll just leave
Of
it there, I
Moscow,
guess.
Idaho, near Blaine, Idaho. Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cell resources that are consistent with the phone traveling south on Idaho State Highway 95 to Genesee, Idaho, then traveling west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then north back into Pullman, Washington. At approximately 5:30, the phone is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with the phone traveling back to the Kohberger residence. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the forensic team by first using a blood test and then amino black and protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of Vans type shoe sole just outside the door of Dylan's bedroom, located on the second floor. Back and talk about what was found also at the scene.
So just one thing on the latent shoe print. So latent means that this particular footprint they actually had to use. So you know how like sometimes let's say blood was cleaned up with like bleach or something, or they tried to clean it up, and so you may not see it just with the naked eye, but then when you luminol it, it lights up like a Christmas tree. Well, apparently this was the case when it comes to the latent footprints, hence latent. And so that's why they had to use the amino, which is kind of something kind of like the um, luminol situation. So, but they did were able to get some kind of footprint and design, and it would be interesting to know how much of the shoe. Because keep in mind, Bryan Kohberger is tall. Um, I'm 6'3". I have 13 size shoe, and so it'd
Floor.
be
Bag.
interesting to know if that latent footprint is big enough to tell the actual shoe size. I think that would be, some fairly damning evidence as well. Hey, Carolyn. She may have been waiting. Excuse me. She may have been waiting for a few minutes, but it turned into longer. Oops. She couldn't tell the time correctly and then fell asleep from an adrenaline crash. Oh, yeah, so many things. I mean, we have no idea. I mean, obviously, this was Saturday night into Sunday morning, so clearly they had been out at parties and probably drinking. And, yeah, we don't know the physical, mental, alcohol level, which could play so many factors. And I would assume that if she did hear some things that were, abnormal, like some screams and stuff, that she was maybe just trying to trick her mind and say, no, that can't be what's going on. It sounds like, my roommates are getting rowdy. We've got some unknown guy walking around. Um, obviously we may never know the full extent.
And talk about what was found also at the scene. On November 13th at approximately 4 p.m., Moscow Police Department, Sergeant Blaker, and I responded to 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, hereafter the King Road residents, to assist with the scene security and processing of crime scene associated with 4 homicides. Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor on the north side of the building. Smith and I walked upstairs to the second floor. Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later...
So this kind of comes from the article where, it's from the perspective of, is it Sergeant Gunner at that time? I think it's Sergeant Gunner, Detective Gunner, Gunner. And then he had 2 others with him, a female, and then I can't remember the other one. But anyway, this is kind of, as they entered the scene, this is kind of them describing what they had found. And they had found that, at least according to him, they found Xana on the floor. They don't specify, but I think we suspect that Ethan was in the bed. Xana was kind of in the floor, kind of maybe laying here somewhere or just inside. I think it was kind of halfway. So that would have meant, the alleged suspect probably, as she was trying to get to Ethan, was attacked probably before she got to Ethan. And then by the time probably Ethan, who, I mean, keep in mind, probably everybody had been drinking in that, hours prior. So that doesn't help with their reaction time and everything. And then, of course, sadly, this wall that we're looking at is where on the other side, if you were outside the house, is where, we see some blood that was running down the concrete outside the house, which means that whoever built this house didn't really properly seal some of this area back here.
Learned through Xana's driver's license and personal belongings found in her room was Xana's bedroom. Just before this room was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Xana, laying on the floor.
Ooh.
Xana was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan. Hereafter, Ethan was also deceased with wounds later determined edged weapon caused by sharp force injuries. I followed Smith upstairs to the third floor residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee. Hereafter, Kaylee's room. I later learned from review of Officer Nunez's body camera there was a dog in the room when Moscow Police Department officers initially responded. Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Maddie, hereafter known as Maddie's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the third floor. As I entered this bedroom, I could see 2 females in a single bed in the room. Both Kaylee and Maddie were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Maddie's right side. This sheath was later processed and had K-Bar, USMC, and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe, an anchor and...
So one of the things that the parents had shared with us, more recent, I think it's been out for a couple months now, but they did do an interview, kind of giving a little bit more insight to where the ladies were laying in this bed, and Kaylee was laying here while Kaylee Gargubs. Maddie was here. Kaylee Gargubs, Maddie Mogan. Just trying to make sure I got the names right. And anyway, sadly, it seems that Maddie was getting attacked first, and that sadly Kaylee was pinned between this wall and then her best friend getting attacked, that she was just sadly pinned. She was couldn't escape, which is, it's really terrible for the parents to have to. It's already been an absolute terrible tragedy with the wounds that were released, which we're not going to talk about. They were absolutely terrible. But just knowing the positions of the ladies, and that it seems that Maddie was attacked first, with Kaylee kind of boxed in, kind of have to watch her best friend get attacked and her stuck. It's absolutely terrible. But obviously, one key item, which could be one of the biggest items, it could be the smoking gun when it comes to this case, with possible DNA on it, but we'll kind of cross that bridge here in a bit. Carolyn from Under Secrets. I saw a new segment where psychologists, researchers did a study on people's reaction to trauma. A lot about how slow, fast time is going to them versus real time. Yes, it's so true. I have experienced that. I'm sure many others have as well. Adrenaline is an amazing thing, and it can be crippling as well.
USMC and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe, an anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA, suspect profile, left on the bottom snap of the knife sheath. Both Bethany and Dylan were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victims. Bethany's bedroom was located on the east side of the first floor of the residence. Besides, the alleged killer Bryan Kohberger then headed south, where he would ping for the first time at 4:48, where he turns his phone back on. He would loop back around southwest, then heading north, where he would be captured on camera at 5:25 a.m. at 1300.
So this is now finishing all the cameras. Remember we were talking about. You read my comments in reverse. I'm not sure. I got tons of comments. It's not easy. Because there's usually a comment. If there's more than one comment, there's context to that, but I only get to see one comment. So I don't always have the context. You got to keep that in mind.
100 Johnson.
All right. So now, after the suspect has left, it goes back to where I did the camera counter because I just wanted to show you guys because um, the amount of information they have in Discovery, the amount of memory, which we will discuss here in a bit, is very high. So the next camera he would be caught on after leaving would be at 5:25 a.m. after he has driven south and now west. Now he's coming back up Washington, and he is now caught on this camera here at
Road.
5:25.
It's unclear the model and quality of this camera. Then finally, at 5:27 a.m., it says in the affidavit the suspect's vehicle is captured at the same intersection at Stadium in Nevada, which has at least 3 cameras. Then he is captured moments later at this intersection, which also has multiple cameras, where he then...
And keep in mind, all of these cameras that he's getting caught on that are near the campus, they're bullet cameras, what is known as bullet cameras, and they most of them are pretty up to date, have very great quality, and then you're getting the vehicle at multiple angles. As you can see, I've kind of just represented. This isn't like exact, but this just kind of shows that his car is going to be caught on the left, right, just about all sides of the car is going to be captured. So to me, we're going to know, who that is. And so we're already, and we're not finished, but we're already at 13 plus cameras that the alleged suspect Bryan Kohberger is
would finally end up back at his apartment complex. So the total known cameras is approximately 13. And that's going off the PC affidavit, which I'm sure could have left out some. And if the cameras I mentioned on Queen Road were working, we could easily have over 15 cameras that captured the vehicle in the span of less than 3 hours. And it's quite possible, since the affidavit has come out, that other households and businesses could have come forward with more footage, which, looking at the overview of known cameras then mixed with the potential cameras, means they not only have a great timeline with visuals, but could have some very good angles of the suspect's car that could be the strongest evidence against the alleged suspect. Kohberger's alibi will either help him...
Okay, so now we'll talk about his alibi. One quick thing, I just wanted to shout out Elbow's mom for a PayPal donation. Thank you so much for the $20 PayPal. And we also have, was it Dom? Double check here real quick. Shame on me. Oh, it wants me to log back in. Yeah, Lisa, Elbow's mom, and Dominic. I read your message. I will look into it. Small town of Tennessee. Thank you so much, Dom, for the PayPal. That is so awesome. You guys are amazing. Check phone again. Okay, I'm going to check the phone while I play this here.
Or completely sink him. Keep in mind, Mr. Kohberger is considered innocent until proven guilty. Well over a month ago, the defense team for Mr. Kohberger released a statement regarding his alibi. Here is the first 2 sentences. Mr. Kohberger has long had a habit of going for drives alone. Often, he would go for drives at night. So in order for the defense to release such a claim would suggest that they have some kind of evidence, most likely digital, since it refers to him driving alone, right, which would imply that it's his cell phone ping tracking his movements. And it's possible they retrieved some older surveillance footage from traffic cams as well. According to the probable cause affidavit, it actually reflects and confirms his alibi to his late night travels. Authorities were able to track his AT&T cell phone activity since late June of 2022 to November 13th, where it shows cellular activity from Bryan Kohberger's phone pinging in the area on at least 12 occasions, which all except for one was during late hours early morning, which means the defense will probably bring up on at least 11 occasions before November 13th, showing that yes, even though Bryan Kohberger was out driving late at night on November 13th, he has a habit of late night drives, which is consistent to his alibi. So on paper, the more times that the defense can prove that Kohberger went for late night drives prior to that date would suggest, hey, there's nothing suspicious here, even though he was caught on multiple cameras on the 13th. This is something that he often does. That doesn't mean he's guilty, right? And on paper, that sounds reasonable. Well, here's the problem with that alibi and where it could sink his ship fast. So we'll write down 12 late night drives that we know Mr. Kohberger took from, say, late June to November 13th. Now we know that the last late night drive was on November 13th, where he turned off his cell phone, and it was off for approximately 2 hours. So we will mark that drive as the cell phone was turned off.
So you can expect the prosecution will have something like this to kind of combat this alibi, which is, in my opinion, as far as defense, yeah, it's pretty lackluster. He has no witnesses. It just, in my opinion, it just doesn't look good. But at the same time, this is about their best thing, which tells me they know that his vehicle is caught on many cameras. So they have to kind of start with that, and then now they've got to somehow discredit each camera that he may be supposedly caught on. I think that will be kind of the next steps as far as the defense goes. But so in some ways it's lackluster, but I think it's really their only play, honestly. Gail with the $5, excuse me, with the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, Gail. You are so sweet. Hope you're doing well. Tom, man, good to see you, buddy. Maybe he is just one of those people that can't travel without GPS, and that's why he went south. Man, that's just one of those people that can't travel without GPS, and that's why he went south. He went south. Maybe, yeah. Oh, after the supposed homicides and going around. Yeah, I mean, you would think if he drives to Idaho, because obviously you got two college towns. Was it Pullmanton and Moscow, and they're only like a 10-minute drive from each other, 10 miles give or take or something. And we know that the college people in Moscow sometimes they like to travel to Washington, and then vice versa, Washington to Moscow, just to kind of change things up. But yeah, it is a little weird that he would take this kind of out of the way trip, in my opinion. Texas says, "You think they may have his You think they may have his face then, Chris?" We'll look at the picture again of the one camera. In my opinion, I don't know how well you're gonna probably see his face, but I think the car and the details about the car are gonna be pretty damning. And I guess it's going to just kind of depend on the lighting. But yeah, we'll take a little bit closer look at that. I don't know if there's going to be a camera that's dead on you can see. But then again, if the quality's decent and running, you saw what I could do with some very terrible video quality with the Linda Lane footage, and I was able to kind of target his silhouette, and that's with some really, you know, bad quality. So with a camera that's got HD quality, working with some filters and some lighting, and that's just using the technology that's available that I have. You can only imagine what uh, the FBI, obviously, they're going to have their hands on the latest and greatest, so they may be able to push that even further. But thank you, Tom, so much for the $10. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Happy Friday. Drew Harry says Brian lived in an entirely different town than where the crime happened. Yeah, but it was only like 15 minutes. There's towns that are 15 minutes. I mean, I don't. Uh, Maybe you have a little bit more to the argument, Drew. I don't know how. Like, that's. I mean, the towns are like right there. We're talking 15-minute drive. I don't. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, we'll keep addressing different angles here. But anyway, right here is Alibi, and then we'll kind of jump around.
So now let's look at the other 11 late night drives. And as we go down the list, looking at the digital evidence and all those other drives he took.
So just so I don't take credit for this, what I'm doing here is, so like I said, mentioned earlier, I have Steve from True Crime Web on a lot. He's the one that's worked in forensics, been a detective. He knows this kind of stuff. This is his wheelhouse. We've had him on live. We've even discussed this particular alibi. And this is said, this is what he would, this is what law enforcement would do. So that we know that apparently he at least 11 times, 12 technically because of November 13th, but before that 11 times that he drove from the house to and was supposedly pinging near the 1122 King Road residence. Now, the first thing they're going to do, because this is criminology slash victimology 101, they're going to see what is his habits on those particular drives. What did he do? Especially since going from the latest, which was he turned his cell phone off for 2 hours. So what did he do with those 11 times prior to that?
Showing him driving around, but he did not turn off his cell phone. The more late night drives they add to the list, the more suspicious the drive he took on November 13th isn't going to add up to his normal routine. But there is something I hadn't thought about until making this video, and that is, we know Mr. Kohberger is no dummy, although I'm sure some would disagree with that. But what I mean is this man studied and accomplished many goals, which included studying psychology and criminal behavior. What if he planned this out many months before, and during each of those late night drives, he purposely turned off his phone for X amount of time each time he took a late night drive? Well, then all those previous drives would just look like the same one on November the 13th, and that would be a huge problem for the prosecution. The defense could argue that maybe he likes to practice safe driving because driving distracted, especially at night, is dangerous. Oh, but there is a problem with that theory, actually a pretty big one, because according to the PC affidavit, all those late night drives, at some point Mr. Kohberger's phone was not only on but pinging in the area of 1122 King Road residence on at least 11 different occasions between late June and November 13th. So if his plan was to establish a consistent alibi, there is going to be a big issue. And now the big question to the defense is, why is his phone pinging all of the other times, especially near...
So keep in mind, this is just theory, but this is what they will obviously look into, if not already. And they will look at all those previous times And the two biggest ones was the cell phone turned on or off, and second, where was his destination. And let's just say, in theory, besides the November 13th, when the tragedy happened, before that, all these 11 times or more, the cell phone stays on, then there goes the argument, well, oh, his cell phone lost signal, And would his cell phone really lose signal? Keep in mind, you're in a college town. Maybe between the drive, like in that little middle part between the two towns, maybe you lose service for 5 minutes. But I guaranteed, with those two big college towns, I guarantee you the cell phone service is going to probably be pretty good. And if his cell phone stayed on in all those previous times, and then also pinged somewhere near the residence, in my opinion, that's that's not gonna look good on Bryan Kohberger. And like I said, this
the
is just
student's
theory.
home, but on the night of the quadruple homicide, his phone was conveniently turned off. So the moral of this video is that although Mr. Kohberger's alibi is in some regards their best play at this time, the more late night drives they add to this case, the more it's going to hurt his case, in my opinion, since they will most likely not align with the alleged activities on November 13th. Here are the final dates of what's coming up. I'm really curious about September 8th, as it says if Kohberger has an actual alibi, he needs to turn it.
This is crazy. So I was gonna take this out, but this is kind of crazy. Just kind of looking back, so this was posted in September, and gosh, it's crazy to think that his trial was gonna be October 2nd, because they were gonna do the speedy trial, and if that were to happen, that would have mean his trial would have been over. In a different parallel universe, we would have already had the Bryan Kohberger trial, which I think would be a huge bombshell. And then we would literally be gearing up for the Richard Allen trial, literally in a few weeks. But unfortunately, when it comes to this case, I'm sure they just saw they saw the discovery and how much discovery they had, and knew that there's just no way they would have enough time to address everything with the discovery. And considering that you've got the charge of the penalty of life, if you know what I mean, the DP penalty, they've got to.
Other than that, jury selection is on September 25th, 26th, and
so just a little bit of side stuff, and then we'll kind of touch on some different things. Texas Ranger says opening statements are going to be crazy, especially the prosecution. Yeah, it's going to be wild. And I'm so glad that the cameras are going to be allowed. It sounds like for anybody that isn't always up to date on this case, and may not have heard this, but yes, cameras going to be allowed in the courtroom during the trial, as far as we know. I mean, there's always time that they could switch it and say no, but as far as we know, they want to have cameras, and that instead of usually, because they'll have I forget the word that they use, but they'd have like Law Network or Court TV that are kind of like the ones that are broadcasting it and have like one or two. So in this particular case, they're going to have their own kind of network, and that way they get to control what is being shown, which I think is great. They can do their thing that makes them feel comfortable, and people get to see the justice system, and I think that's great. Um, devoted to Maria, the evidence against BK is damning. In my personal opinion, I agree. Just because, and to me, one of the biggest things is the video. Um, is is really a big one. Would like to know what he bought at Albertsons that next morning. That may be damning. Yeah, and what he did around there. I mean, just that whole trip down south is very fishy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, totally agree. Thank you again, Tom, so much for the $5 and the support. You are so awesome. Uh, oops, I can't. What the heck? Okay, there we go. I got my screen got stuck. RV there yet? Copper Horse. I'm new to this channel. Is it too forward to ask Chris is if Chris is purely viewer, supporter, funded for his work? Are you talking about my work as far as helping the missing in cold cases? Um, if you'd like to email me, RV there yet? If that's what you're referring to, we can always use help. And I can give you much more details on that side of the angle. Because yes, one of the things that we're trying to strive to is kind of going and I hate to use this as an example, but it's kind of the only one I can think of is the Adventures with Purpose. That's kind of the direction that we want to go. And that's working with, obviously, Steve from True Crime Web, who is a former detective in forensic. And yes, we have already worked on many cold cases and are gearing up for some in the future. Okay, moving on. Oh my goodness. Before I move on, holy crap. Copper Horse. Holy Hannah. Gifted 50 mob crew memberships. That is amazing. Copper Horse, thank you so much. Anyone that got gifted a mob crew membership, if you could please thank Copper Horse. That's amazing. 50 people. I mean, that's probably like 20% of the people in here just got gifted a membership. So that's amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I always keep up to date. Like I said, I have to keep things going too. All right, but thank you, Copper Horse. You're so awesome. Okay, so some side things that were out there, and then there's a certain angle I wanted to get to. But a little bit about Brian that you may not know if you're new to this case. So people who knew Brian in school said he was an average person, was a bit quiet, shy. He was bullied in kind of like his earlier years, and then he got into. I'm not sure if I can use the D word, but he got into obviously. Oh, I can't highlight it, but yeah, he got into recreational whatever stuff, and specifically H. And then he started losing weight. And then I think as high school came along, he lost weight, and then he actually became a bully himself. Many do say that he's a nice guy, but it seemed that he had a big issue with ladies. Keep that in mind. I think that's very huge. Um, And we even had we saw an interview, a TikTok, about a lady that went on a Tinder date with Brian. And she said that he seemed off, seemed creepy. These are her words. She claimed he tried tickling her. That made her feel uncomfortable. Um, and anyway, she just felt like this date just she wasn't feeling it, so she kind of pretended to be sick and then asked, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well. Asked Brian to leave, and then he goes on to say that he had a great time and that she had great birthing hips, uh, which is not normal and sounds like an awkward thing to say to a lady. Upon my research, something that's interesting that I was looking up, and I don't know this to be 100% fact, but I was looking up everything I could, and there's always more, but I've never seen anywhere where it mentions that he's actually had like an actual relationship, like a girlfriend. Thought that was kind of interesting. Now, I could definitely be wrong for sure, but um, I had never seen anything where it was like, hey, someone came forward and said, yeah, I dated him for a couple months or whatever this year. Um, there hasn't been anything. Then another crazy incident that happened. So just before Bryan Kohberger's arrest, I believe it was Amanda. Now he has two sisters, Amanda and Melissa. I believe it was Amanda, but I could be wrong. It could be Melissa. But either way, one of the sisters feared that her brother was involved in the Idaho 4. Before police swooped in on their parents' home and arrested him for this tragedy, according to a bombshell report, sources told NBC's Dateline that one of the accused Ayler's older siblings grew increasingly suspicious of her brother and his behavior. When the family gathered to spend the holidays together, her suspicions were so great that at one point, several family members searched Mr. Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra for possible evidence of the crime. But there's more. Sorry, I hate that. Yeah, if I lean in, I get that feedback. I apologize. I didn't know you guys could hear that. Yeah, it's absolutely annoying. But I have to be close to the mic, so when I turn my ear and I'm kind of looking at chat, that's when I get that. Because yeah, so my apologies. But get this. Go forward a little bit, and we'll get to chat here in just a second. One of the earlier reports that I missed because there was just so much coming out. There's an article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if we get a chance, we'll look at it. But this is in regards to a special informant that had sources that were talking to, I think, Dateline NBC. I could be wrong. But it goes on to say, by that point, police said Mr. Kohberger had already been spotted cleaning his car out with bleach. And so the family members didn't find anything of note. So apparently, they're saying that when they were obviously surveilling Kohberger, because he left from Idaho, or excuse me, Washington with his dad. He went back to Pennsylvania. And during this time, he was doing stuff that the family members kind of felt suspicious of. But when they were doing their stakeouts, they noticed that he was cleaning out his car. I don't know about you. I've never used bleach on my car. I don't think I ever will. Because I don't think bleach is really supposed to be used inside interiors. I think there's like certain things you could maybe use bleach on, but I think you could ruin or get the bleach spots that you're never going to get out. Might have to turn down my notifications. They are going off like crazy here. Okay, turn those down a little bit. Soon after, in the early hours of December 30th, law enforcement descended on the family home and arrested him for the alleged homicide. At the time of the arrest, the source said Mr. Kohberger was wide awake, standing in the kitchen wearing latex gloves, putting his personal trash in plastic bags, and taking it out to the neighbor's trash. Now, I've seen some people argue, well, what's the big deal? You know, he's wearing some gloves, he's throwing out his trash. Many people, I guess, say they do the same, you know, because they're handling trash. I kind of get that, but apparently he was like wearing gloves all the time. As a matter of fact, the sister goes on to say that she noticed he was wearing gloves around the house at all times, which meant to me, knowing that he was in criminology, that he was trying to hide his DNA and fingerprints. Let me finish this and I'm going to get to chat here because there's quite a bit. Just additionally, court documents that were made publicly stated that a knife, a pocket knife, a Glock 22 handgun with 3 empty magazines were found at the Bryan Kohberger's parents' home in Pennsylvania. In Kohberger's car, the garage, and at the shed of the property were all searched where he was arrested. As far as the car goes, police took a door panel, which is very interesting that they took the panel of the door, which is like the interior. I think most of you know what a door panel is, but so if you were to open up your door, the panel, that's the inside, that's the panel where, like, you know, you've got your little cubby box on the bottom, you know, where you've got your window thing is, and your handle to open the door. So they took that panel, which is interesting. They took the seat cushions, the headrest, the seat belt, the visor, brake, and gas pedals. So interesting. I'm sure all those for to be tested to see if there's any kind of blood. They noticed that there was a band-aid, maps and documents, and other items, including clothing and a shovel. So obviously the murder weapon has never been found that we know of. And is it possible that this shovel was used to bury it? A cell phone, a laptop, and 2 containers of green leafy substance were seized from the home, along with black face masks, a black hat, several articles of dark clothing, and a book with the underlining on page 18. I would really love to know more about that book. But a lot of dark clothing that was taken. Sorry, I'm just seeing why my thing's going off. I think it's because we got 50 mob crew memberships, so it's just trying to catch up. So let me get to chat. I've got a few more things to go over. Oh, did I miss that earlier, Elf? If I did, my apologies. Elf gifted 1 mob crew membership. Sorry, sometimes I do get comments or even donations that don't pop up. It does happen. Purple Puddles donated $3.99. Thank you so much. Especially when you have like over 500-600, chat starts going cruising, and it's easy to miss stuff. But I always go back and make sure. Tom says, I hope everyone is having a great day. We're going to learn a lot about forensics from this case. It feels like there may be other involved. Certainly possible. And thank you so much, Tom. Swear jar for Chris reaction. Thanks, Carpa Horse. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Wild Mustang, thank you so much for the $4.99. And Purple Puddles, once again, you are A plus. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the $1.99 and the sweet comment. That is very kind of you. And I see a bunch of people thanking Copper Horse for the amazing gifted memberships. So a couple more things here. So there was a documentary on, was it not News Nation, but similar program. But anyway, they interviewed one of the ladies that led this program. So if you guys don't know or recall, Kohberger was trying to become a cop, and maybe more, who knows. So at the time, the 28-year-old criminologist Bryan Kohberger was a shock, but made sense to a former. So this is talking about the lady that ran this course, and then realized that the course that she ran and one of her students in this course ended up being Bryan Kohberger. But she was shocked, but she wasn't. She said that there was things that she saw now that make sense to her. And so it goes on to say, ultimately, what had him removed. So he was doing this where you're kind of training to be a cop, and apparently he had done something that we don't know. We'll maybe learn in the trial. But it sounds like even though he was doing a great job and he took it very seriously, he had an issue with females, is what we got from it, from the documentary, and the lady that was the teacher. And so anyway, she says, ultimately what had him removed from the program, when I look back on it now, makes sense. The fact that he wanted law enforcement more than, now keep this in mind, the fact that Bryan Kohberger wanted to become law enforcement more than anything else in the world. If you look at it from just that perspective alone, knowing what I know, you would be like, I'm so shocked, she said. In that respect, I am. But I know another little piece, which is the piece that occurred at the school. So that makes sense. Although she said Kohberger took the program extremely serious, a group of female students reported an issue to their teacher. So let's just theorize right here. Is it possible that, that was his dream job? That's what he wanted to become. Because remember, it's theorized that maybe he doesn't experience excitement like we do. And so like when we go on a roller coaster ride, we get an adrenaline rush when we go down the roller coaster and stuff. But someone like Kohberger, or, these notorious serial illers, not all of them, but a lot of them that just don't have, that are wired differently, that he'd go on that same roller coaster ride. He doesn't get that adrenaline rush. As a matter of fact, the Iceman, one of the most notorious hitmans and slash serial illers, he said he never experienced fear, and he never really got like adrenaline rushes until he started torturing animals and then taking people's lives. That was the only time he actually felt alive. And so they say a lot of those people get into careers like the military, because remember, he was trained to become into the military, and then law enforcement. He would be in a line of work that he maybe get to experience what us normal people, you know, uh, may even take for granted because there's other people who are just wired differently. And so, anyway, long story short, you could see this as a potential catalyst for possible hatred towards women. And this is just speculation on my part, of course. Let me know what you guys think in chat. Feel differently, or um, you want to add on to it. But to me, I feel like this here was kind of like the catalyst. And he had some kind of anger and hatred towards females because they're, the ones that got kicked out of the class. And this was kind of the start. And, you know, just a possible scenario of a motive. Karen Lee, I can't imagine feeling alive doing those things. Yeah, when the Iceman, what is it, the Iceman tapes or something like that, that was on HBO, released a long time ago. You can still watch them, of course, you have HBO. But yeah, it was really, they interviewed him. Um, it was a psychologist and I think another one, but just to kind of get inside of his head. And he explained, like what made him feel certain things. And um, yeah, it's kind of crazy. We're just, some people are wired differently. I wish I had Netflix. Yeah, Netflix is a pretty good um, streaming service. I haven't had Netflix for a while, but there's supposed to be some good shows coming out. If you're into true crime, uh, and for a good value, Peacock is really good. I think Peacock is, it's got a lot of true crime stuff, and I would say versus all the others, I think Peacock probably has the most. Um, anyway, so a couple more things. I'm just trying to keep an eye on chat here. There was a couple more things. Oh yeah, so the Patsy thing. So I'm not gonna go too much into the Brent Kopaka thing because I don't think that has any relation to it. But I know some may believe it. If you do, I mean you're right. I don't think so. But this is the thing: is if they were gonna have like a fall guy, right? You got this Brent Kopaka guy who would kind of be the perfect Patsy because, he's sadly killed December 15th. And like I said, if it was going to be a setup or something, why not just use this guy? Because he's already passed on. And you could easily turn some narratives, which obviously previous YouTubers have already done. And then you wouldn't have to go through a trial. You wouldn't have to go through possibly being exposed for covering up and being corrupt. To me, that would make the most sense. Like, if it was corrupt, if Moscow was corrupt, why not just take this route where there's not going to be a trial and just say, yep, this was the guy. We took him out. Everything's all good. And you don't have to worry about taxpayer monies. We don't have to have a trial where, if there was planted evidence, it could be exposed. So those are just my arguments to that. Um, but, and to me, I feel bad because in all reality, if it was, this guy just sadly just had PTSD. For those that may not know, from what I understand, is he served in Afghanistan. So he fought for our country in Afghanistan, which is, from what I've heard, is, and I'm sure there's many documentaries on it, that is like one of the worst wars. And I'm not going to say there's one that's worse than the other, but it's just, it's bad because it's one of those that never had a finality to it. So that's why I'm meaning, it never got resolved. Like the people that fought in Afghanistan felt like they went out there and all their friends, and the ones that came back, the, they said their friends died for nothing because nothing really happened. They were out there for how many years and they came back and it's all gone back to the same before we were there. So anyway, long story short, I think what happened, if I recall, is he was on patrol and they hit a bomb, and I think there was four of them hit like an IED. And from what I read, I could be wrong, but they hit an IED or something like that. And like I said, there was him and three others, and all of his brothers, his teammates died except for him. They're like burned alive. And yeah, I see what's going on, Chad. I'll get to it. Um, and so what he probably had to experience watching all them pass away except for him, and then he's got to come back and battle PTSD, which I obviously I couldn't imagine what that'd be like because I've never experienced that. And so anyway, I think that's tough. It's really tough. Thank you, baby kisses. Um, but yeah, there's some connections to that. Um, I'm gonna get to chat in 2 seconds. I'm gonna pull up something. There's one more thing I wanted to get to. Yep, I'm gonna get to chat. Just hold up. Where are you? Oh, I know. Okay, yeah, that's where I want to leave off. Okay, let's get to my things going off like crazy. Gumber Horse gifted 150 mob crew members. Is it 150 or 200? Let's see. One. Wait, did you gift 150? Why does it only show up once? I'm not sure. Copper Horse is breaking my chat. That is crazy. Please show some love to Copper Horse. I'm not sure if you did that 3 times or 2 times, which is weird. Bernice, that was my thoughts on why they arrested Dr. Moore for Dr. Drake's no connection, didn't make sense, no turn, and turns out Dr. Moreau didn't take anyone's life. Yeah, not sure about that case, but yeah. Yeah, he was a war hero. That's why I think that's a really tough one. I know that is so sweet. Please, if you can, if you haven't already, please show Copper Horse some love. That is truly amazing. Hey, I love my math. Just don't just go easy on me when it comes to English. Yeah, it's raining members. Okay, so it was 100 gifted memberships. Okay, I couldn't tell because there was like 3 of them up there at one point. Yeah, well, you guys don't. Yeah, that's the reason why I said 150 is it's got 350s up there. So that is amazing. Yeah, my thing is just going off. Let me. So before we finish up, a couple more things. And if you have anything to share, Sharon says Brent Kopaka was innocent and targeted. Why? The video I viewed showed his roommate sitting calmly on the couch. Brent never fired a shot. Yeah, I think there was just some of the words that were used, I believe. Like, didn't he say, like, oh, you guys thought I killed the kids or whatever? Something to that effect. And then people twisted that. And then of course, the K-bar knife, which is military. It was a lot of, like, military connections. And then it started connecting them to him. And so, yeah. So anyway, um, since the time of Kohberger's arrest, the prosecution has disclosed roughly 51 terabytes. Let me say that again, 51 terabytes of information as part of the discovery process, including thousands of pages of discovery, thousands of photographs, hundreds, let me say that again, hundreds of hours of recordings. Now, yeah, sure, some of those are going to be interviews with witnesses. Um, Many of those, I'm sure. And then many gigabytes of electronic phone record and social media data. That's huge. Phone records and social media data. But the big one, 51 terabytes. I mean, that is astronomical. I don't even think I've ever used 51,000. So, just for those that may not know that number. So, do you guys remember those little these little bad boys right here? Remember, they used to come in like, oh, what did they start out? Like 125 megabytes, then like 500 megabytes, and then they finally went to like 1 gigabyte. And then, God, I remember when they were 1 gig, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so much memory, 1 gig. I'll get to it, guys. I know. Um, but think about that. Like when this was like 1 gig, it felt like you could like store everything. And then 1 terabyte equals 1,001 gigabyte. 1 terabyte equals 1,000 gigabytes. Like I got a newer computer. It has, and it's midline. It's not top line, but it's like in the midline level. That has 500 gigabytes of storage. A lot of computers 10, 20 years ago would have like tops 250 gigs or less. Um, so to have 51 terabytes, which is 51,000 gigabytes of information, that's a lot. I mean, that is a lot. So just kind of think about that. So that to me is why I think when it really comes to it, yeah, I tried to turn the dings down. Let's see if that'll turn it off. Yeah, I'm gonna turn that off. Sorry guys. Copper Horse is going crazy. Thank you so much, Copper Horse. You are so sweet. But yeah, just trying to think about that. I mean, that is a huge number. Huge. Just a reference. Just a reference. The um Rex Humerman case, the Golden State, or no, Golden State, Google Beach, Long Island serial offender, the prosecution gave the defense the discovery information. They had 8 terabytes. 8. And that's a case that's been going on for years, years, like decades, possibly, when it comes to the Rex Humorin case. This is just one incident, one day, well, kind of 2 days, but so, I mean, that's why I think, in my opinion, this is going to be maybe not like a slam dunk case, but I think people are going to be in for a huge shock when, just like when it comes to the Murdoch case, all it took was one, like what, 40-second, 30-second cell phone video recorded by the son that literally was the smoking gun that took down Alex Murdoch. And that was probably like a, you know, 2 gig video. I don't know, something like that. So just to give you an idea, like that, there's a lot. There's a lot against this guy. So, but I know not everybody's on board, and I totally respect. You sit on the other side, or maybe you're on the fence with this. It's totally understandable. Maybe we may not agree on this case, but we may agree on other cases. That's yeah. So anyway, any final thoughts you want to share? Anything that I could answer? Obviously, I don't know everything. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't covered, but I am definitely passionate about this case, and I hope those girls get justice and and Ethan, because that's absolutely terrible. Adam Malone, I imagine much is camera footage. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. That's why I think, and I've said this many times before, if you're worried that we may never know who actually killed it, like let's say you think Bryan Kohberger is innocent, and you may think, oh no, may not actually catch whoever did this. To me, whoever did this, we will know. And cameras don't lie. Yeah, his searches on the internet. Yeah, that sounds like they do. For sure. And could you imagine with them going with the, uh, they were going to have a speedy trial, and then they probably got hit with these 51 terabytes, and we're like, oh gosh, yeah, we got to prepare, and that's why now they say that this trial may not happen until like 2025 maybe, which is kind of crazy because technically it would already been over if it was a speedy trial. Passed by again. Oh, with the memberships. Oh, pickles. You keep in here. I guarantee you'll get one. Cover up. What if it? What if one or both of the girls were involved with preventing him, i.e., K, from progressing in his career? Maybe certainly incentive to. Ooh, yeah, not sure. Oh yeah, let me. Yep. Let me get to the last few things. Uh, so we will be going live again tomorrow. And so usually I used to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but since it's been really slow, except for today, we're going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, just kind of like a short members video or short members live. So, so basically um, so yeah, 5 days, plus the Sunday, so 6 days. But we usually try to keep it to an hour and hour and a half. So although we did hit 2 hours because it's been a long time since we covered this case. Darlene, thank you so much, and Peyton. Friday Night Live, Train Started by Copper Horse. Thank you, Darlene, Peyton, Dominic, all those that did the PayPal for donations. You guys are so awesome. Purple Puddles, Justice for Idaho Victims. That's right. Yeah, what a nice channel. Thank you so much, Purple Puddles. Yeah, that's very sweet of you to say. Katrina, thanks, Chris. Good to get an update on the case. Coverage is awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, as far as updates go, we're still. What was the last thing that we learned? Obviously, the last big thing really was that we learned that the cameras are going to be involved. But things might go much slowly for the next bit because obviously it's just going to be a kind of a battle of the defense trying to get the discovery, all the discovery and motions. And obviously, when it comes to legal side, that's not my wheelhouse as well. So that's why I try not to go too in depth with that because that's not my best area. Christina Strife with another Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much, Christina. Happy holidays. Hope you're doing well. Pickle Toast. Thank you, Chris. Love it here. Thank you so much. Wild Mustang, how can you turn on accept membership? There should be a thing where you just click it once and you enable. If someone in the chat, one of my mods, could you just pop up the way to. Oh, Copper Horse has got it. Right there. Okay, well, I think we're going to finish it there. I think there was one more thing I wanted to touch on, but, we went well over 2 hours. But yeah, definitely a case I am very passionate about. And I think at the end of the day, you think he's, whether innocent, guilty, I think we all want just justice for the three girls and Ethan and, and hopefully it's done in the right way and justice is served. So, with that said, I am going to go ahead and get the outro ready. Looks like I got to get one more because you guys are so crazy and so awesome. Ellen Hinkle, good to see you. Thank you so much for another gifted Mob Crew membership. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much. Cat keeps on. Seriously doubt any of the victims were involved in BK's career, but what career? BK. Maybe not career, but I mean, the guy's definitely smart. I mean, he definitely got some degrees, criminology. But yeah, I think there's definitely a deeper and darker side to him. That could have been boiling, but that's just speculation, of course. Ben says, great community here. Happy holidays to all. Happy holidays to you and everybody else in here. Yeah, we do. We have an amazing chat. Christina, thank you again. Oh, Chris Davis was gifted a Mob Crew membership. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Great show tonight. Thank you guys. I feel like now I'm just rambling on. You guys are so amazing. Yeah, the guy was. Yeah, I'd love to know his IQ. Oh my gosh, I'm sure this guy is no dummy. Thank you, Don. All right, guys. We will be back on tomorrow. I think Saturday. it'll either be 7 or I might try 8 p.m. Eastern time. So it'd be basically 1 hour later than I started today. We'll see. So it'll be one of those times. And then Sunday, with all of these new members, we'll have a special show along with Patreon. Another way to support me is becoming a Patreon. We do have a bunch of behind the scenes stuff that we upload as well. So with that, I am going to head out. I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, if it's still Friday where you're at, and a wonderful weekend. And we will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and get my outro ready. We like to kind of add some light to the dark by showing viewers pets. So here we go, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.